Hey everybody, welcome back to Malts and Meeples. I am Petter, and today is the day that we kick off the top 100 games of all time 2025 edition with 100 through 91. This is always one of my favorite things to do and stream every year because it's always fun to see and kind of start to realize, like, oh, that's where this game is now compared to where it was before. Before I jump into this, I'm just going to talk a little bit about the process. I have an article actually over on nerdologists.com. You can find the link for the website down in the comment section or down in the description. But I just want to kind of walk through a little bit of how it works. I use PubMeeple, and generally when I do it, I pick a range that I'm ranking. This year I decided to go everything 6.5 and higher. 6.5 and higher, those are going to be games that I like, to games that I absolutely adore. I'm not going to be doing that again. Mainly because I've almost played 100 different new games this year. I think I'm at 95 or 6. Plus whatever I played new last year after I did my top 100. So it's probably over 100 new games, and a lot of those are going to fall into that 6.5 range and higher. So that means every time I do it, I'm adding more and more and more games that I have to rank. Instead, I'm probably going to start to go, I wouldn't be surprised, next year it's 7.5s and higher that I do. And PubMeeple allows you to pull in your BGG collection. You can filter them by the ones that you've rated and add those to your ranking list. I drop some of them, and I'll talk about that if it shows up, where it might feel like a duplicate. It might feel like a family of games, and I pick one game in that family to kind of be representative of that whole group. The comparisons then are simply one game to one game. Which one do you like better? And as you do those comparisons, it starts to sort itself. Because if I say that I like Monopoly better than Uno, and then I say that I like Skip-Bo better than Monopoly, I don't have to compare Skip-Bo and Uno, because I already know that I'm going to like Skip-Bo better than Uno because I liked it Skip-Bo better than Monopoly. That's the basics of how this ranking works. But that just really kicks us off then into the top 100 games of all time. Now that I've kind of explained how it works, I'm not going to talk about this again at the start of every video. I just want to talk about it here so people understand how this works. And yeah, let's get into it here with our slideshow of the top 100 games of all time, 2025 edition, 100 through 91. We're kicking it off here with Ecosystem. I know Ecosystem was higher on the list last year. I need to pull down the list from last year so I can have comparison numbers up. I will try and do that potentially after this stream, if not before the next stream, so that I have that in place. But Ecosystem is a drafting tableau building game. You are selecting a card from your hand and you're putting it into a 4 tall by 5 wide grid. And depending on its placement and adjacency towards other things, that's going to be how you score points. Now, this actually encompasses all of the Ecosystem games. There's Ecosystem Coral Reef, and Ecosystem Savannah. But the regular Ecosystem is actually the one that I'm going to be keeping in my collection. I think it's the easiest to play, but it still offers some very interesting choices. And I really like this one because there's a lot of different strategies as to how you can make it work, Plus, there's thought that has been put into how the system works. So that's my number 100. My number 99 then is going to be. Come on, my fingers were off. My number 99 is going to be Aquatica. Aquatica is a game that the first time I played it, I thought it was okay. There were elements of it that I really liked. But as I played it more, I found that I'm really enjoying this game. This game is a game where you're trying to collect treasures. Basically, that's what it is, for points, and complete different objectives. But there's a really fun mechanism in the game that makes it stand out and is what puts it on the list. That mechanism is that when you get a card, the card generally has some things on the side that you can do. So it's like, okay, it might add to your purchase power or your attack power, things like that. It might allow you to move other cards around, and I'll talk about how that movement works here in a second. Or it might allow you to bury some treasure, basically bury some of those cards to gain points. And you slide those cards up. So as you're covering up those spots, you get those benefits. And you can slide to gain a whole bunch of benefits. Or if you have a whole bunch of cards in there, you might be able to set up combos and really big turns where you can get multiple treasures kind of taken care of. And it's just I like the system a lot. I feel like the sliding puzzle is amazing. The different locations that you can get are very good and different, and it offers a fun setup there. The only downside for this game for me is the cards. The cards that you play out on your turn to kind of determine what sort of main action you might be doing. There's just not enough variety there, and that keeps it from being really high on my list. I think if they developed this game, just a little card expansion, maybe just taking that whole starting deck of cards that you can purchase from and swapping that out with something new that offers some more interesting interactions, that would probably be enough to push this game higher on the list. But for right now, it's sitting at 99, and I feel pretty good about that. I also will say I played it on BGA. I'm not a fan of it on BGA. It's just more fun to slide the cards and manipulate everything in person. Then number 98 is going to be Pergola. Now, Pergola is a game that I have only played on BGA, though because I played it on BGA, I picked up a copy to play for myself. Pergola is a flower collection game, I guess would be the best way to describe it, where you're picking out an action. You pick one of 4 different trowels that have actions on them, or less actions, more items that you get. And depending on where you pick it from, there's also an additional kind of action that you can take. So you're working with these different types of plants. You can see them there. Hollyhocks, the red ones on the side here. I think those are the hollyhocks. Then there's red ones in the middle there. There's lavender. You have different bugs that you get, and everything scores differently. So depending on which trolls you pick, that's going to change up your strategy and your collection that you're going for. And then the actions themselves, those bonus ones that you get from the location you picked your troll at, some of them allow you to get bugs of various types that go on plants that are going to give you more points. And everything just gives you points in different ways. The game is not complex, but once you're done, it's a pretty game. It is a game that looks good when it's done, and you feel satisfied with the scoring that you've been able to do. Because there are chances to have kind of clever turns and things like that that work very nicely for this game for me. So, Pergola is going to be my number 98. At 97 here, then, we have Crokinole. I wish there was not the white border around that, but Crokinole, the classic flicking game where you are trying to land your disc in that center spot, because that's going to score you points. That's going to give you 20 points, I believe it is. But then you get points for the outer rings as well here. And the fun part is you can get good at it. Like, this is a dexterity game that if you want to, you can spend the time and get very good at it. But when you're playing somebody who isn't as good, and I'm not that good, well, I'll just put that out there. While I find this game a blast, I'm not that good. I don't play it enough. You always flick from your quadrant, and you have to land it in the middle, or in that middle ring that has those little bumpers around it. If you fail that, then your opponent has to hit your disc first. And that can create some really tricky shots to try and create. Ideally, those are in that middle section, and you bank it off your opponents, dropping it into the middle, so you're getting more points. But, like I said, I'm not that good at it. I just have a ton of fun with this one as a dexterity game. And I will try and use this hand to do my whatever demonstrations with my hands instead of the one that's behind the picture, because that's super useful for you. So, that is my 97. It's one, honestly, I need to get that played again, just because it's so much fun to sit down and play. And it's one of those games that has that pour yourself a drink, chat, play, complete a game, reset, chat, play, and just make an evening like a nice chill evening of it. 96 for me then is going to be Fleet the Dice Game. This is the one that made these slides really wide, and so why some of the other ones are small. But Fleet the Dice Game is going to be a big roll and write game. I wish I had a picture kind of the sheets to help demonstrate how expansive this is. But you have two different sheets. Remember which hands to use. One is going to be where you're fishing at. You can send out different types of fishing boats to get different types of fish. And you'll fish a few times during the game. The more fish you get from those spots, more points you can get. But then there's also this whole other side with a harbor where you can push for king crab, where you can push for extra times fishing, buildings you can complete for points, and various other things, as well as this section at the bottom where you're just tracking coins that you're getting. And the more coins you get, it allows you to get stars. Those stars allow you to fill in other spots, and now you're comboing into these big turns. And I really like that about the game, because I like it when I can combo in a roll and write game. And Fleet the Dice Game gives me that. And it also plays really well solo. It's part of a quadrilogy of games, I guess, from kind of the same group. I'm not sure if it's all the same designers. I have played two of them. I need to play the other two to see which ones I like best. I am actually not sure if the other one made it to the list or not. So, like me, you will have to watch in order to find out. Then, so this was number 96, 95 is going to be Castles of Burgundy. And yes, this is the edition of Castles of Burgundy I currently own. It is the fancy one from, I forget the name of the company, but in conjunction with Awaken Realms. I have yet to play this copy of the game. I had a different version that I played and really enjoyed. The differences are just aesthetically. And then I've played this a number of times on BGA. This is all about building out your area around your castle, your area of Burgundy. And you're doing that by placing different tiles. Some of them are going to give you ways to score. Some of them, some of them will just, yes, let you score in that moment. You're completing sections. It might be of kind of merchant type businesses. I know them as yellow tiles. There's brown tiles, silver tiles that get you metal or silver that you can then spend to get more tiles, be able to place them. But it's this dice management system where you're trying to optimize how you build everything out to get the best score. Normally it's not my type of theme for a game, but the system itself works so well that I just really love this one. And looking at the box cover here on the screen, I really need to get this version of the game played, because I think if it looks better and maybe is slightly easier to understand what some of those pieces are, I'm interested in that. Like that could make this game go even higher than 95 where it is, assuming I still have that number correct in my head. See, another thing I should do is should put a number on here, but I haven't. Then I say that and I'm like, wait, I could probably really easily check to see, because I can just look at icons. Yes, that is number 95. Number 94 is one that I learned and picked up at? No, I learned at Gen Con last year. And so I wasn't able to go to Gen Con this year, but I learned Comic Hunters at Gen Con in 2024. No. Yes, that's when it was. I was trying to remember because I learned it at the Man vs. Meeple meetup event there. And this is a drafting game. This is a drafting game where you're trying to build out your best comic book collection. I wish building comic book collections worked this way, but because I love comic books, but this doesn't give you just one type of drafting. It gives you several different types of drafting, and each of them leans towards different eras of comic books. Like, you can find newer stuff in some of the simpler drafts, and it gets a little bit more complex. It feels like as time goes by, or maybe it's just as ages go by, it's been a little bit since I played it, but I really appreciate all the different drafting mechanisms in the game, and that might sound like a lot, but for the most part, there's just a couple things you need to teach in the game to get going. First, how you build out your comic book collection. Like, you want to get a lot of certain characters, that's going to give you potentially more points, but also having more smaller collections can give you points. And how you build those collections or get comics into your collection. You have your hand full of cards for comics. The ones you want to keep, you have to be able to pay for with the other comics you have in your hand. And that's just a cool system. Then you teach the first draft. And that's it. You don't have to teach the different drafts until you get to them. It makes the game really slick to get to the table. And this whole game, you can see the Marvel symbol on there, has Marvel comic artwork, Marvel comic covers on it, and it just looks awesome with that. So that was my number 94. Number 93 is one that I need to get played again. I played it 2 years ago now at Gen Con, and this is Mario Kart, the board game. Now, a lot of board games kind of give you some racing that's supposed to be Mario Kart-esque. Dungeon Kart using the bosses from Boss Monster, I think that gives you the best one out there. I find that it plays quickly. I find that generally what you're doing is fairly simple, but you get to grab spells and things like that and sling them at your opponents, messing them up in order to try and catch up. It's also not too complex in terms of, okay, if you're going through certain types of terrain, you want to be in these gears. That's going to determine how far you can go. Or, or you have a couple different special powers. So normally you can only turn once per turn. But if you have certain characters, they can turn multiple times. Or it's just minor things like that that make it different and unique feeling without making it too complicated. And I really appreciate that about the game. It is a fun racing game, goofy, and you don't feel bad when you blast somebody. In fact, it's like Mario Kart. If you're behind, you're drawing more spells and you're getting better ones. So I really like that about it, which takes us then to 92. 92 was one that came out this year around Gen Con, and I feel a little odd about putting it on the list, mainly because Devir Games made some disappointing choices when it came to the artwork. They're rectifying that situation, which I really appreciate. They responded in a great way. Soon I'm going to have, some point in time, I'll have different artwork for the game. So I love the fact that they're handling that. They're doing the right thing to make sure the game is accessible to the whole board gaming community. That's really important. The game itself, though, is kind of like Balatro. If you're familiar with Balatro, I played it here on the channel. It is a roguelike poker game. You're playing out poker hands to defeat different antis and advance, unlocking special abilities, stuff like that. Ace of Spades gives you that as a solo or two-player game. You are beating bosses, and as you beat a boss, you're playing out poker hands to do so. So I play out a hand, face cards give me damage, aces give me damage, doing things like playing out a pair or three of a kind, full house. All of those things are going to give additional damage to what you're doing. But there's this element of you have to balance how much you attack so that you're set up to face basically every third boss, because every third boss is tougher. And every third boss has something that's going to hit hard when you get it. So if you beat that third boss, they're going to give you an ongoing power. And you need that ongoing power to make it all the way to the top boss and try and defeat him. Plus the sub-bosses, you defeat them, you are now getting one-time use powers. And you have to decide when you want to use them, because sometimes you're just like, well, I got to hold on to it because I'm going to need it for a big boss, but that might do you in if you don't know what's coming up in that deck. Yeah, it could do you in. There's certainly a level of luck to it, but it's not a level of luck that bugs me in the game. This is one that I will play here on Malts and Meeples. I just am going to wait until the new replacement cards are available for it. Then, I believe, this is 91. This is the one that I accidentally spoiled because my fingers were off on the keyboard. 91 is going to be Railroad Ink. Now, I have Railroad Ink Challenge up here. That is my preferred way to play. But Railroad Ink itself is a very good game. This is a roll and write game where you are trying to connect paths of trains and cars or roads, so train tracks and roads, and you're connecting spots from the edge of the board. The more of those spots that are interconnected completely together, the more that points you score. But you also score points for your longest railroad. You score points for your longest road. And I like how Railroad Ink. Challenge brings in some challenges. These challenges, you can score points for them if you complete them by the round they need to be completed on. If you don't, you still have another round to complete them, but you're going to lose some points. So if it's just filling everything in, if you kind of want that more just route connection building game, Railroad Ink. is very good. I like the additional element of the challenge because it just gives you something more to go for, I think, in an interesting way. And honestly, it doesn't up the complexity too much. It just adds one extra piece that you need to think about. So just that's a 100 through 91. I always like to just quickly run through them again at the end here so you have the list in case you haven't been taking it down, or you just want kind of that refresher without having watched the whole video again or trying to figure out when the new games come up. At 100, I had Ecosystem. 99, Aquatica. 98, Pergola. 97, Crokinole. 96, Fleet the Dice Game. 95, Castles of Burgundy. 94 is going to be Comic Hunters. 93, Dungeon Cart. 92, Ace of Spades. And then 91, Railroad Ink. Challenge. So I do already have the videos up for the next few weeks. I believe it almost takes us to the halfway point, so probably the next 3 weeks. Sounds about right for what I did. So you can click that notification bell to know when those videos go live. My goal is for every one of these videos every Wednesday at 9 p.m. Central to put these out. It's always going to be a chunk of 10 at a time. So next week it is going to be 90 through 81. But I just want to thank you all so much for checking out these videos. Hopefully you find them fun, interesting. Maybe you can find some games where you're like, oh, I should try that game because it sounds really unique. It sounds like the type of game that I might like, but I haven't heard of it. If there's something like that, drop it down in the comments section below. Let me know, like, hey, I'm interested in this game. I will add a comment, fill in some more details, answer questions gladly, and honestly, it's just exciting to have people join in that conversation. I also put out other videos here on the channel as well, so you've probably noticed an uptick in videos this week. It's not going to always stay that way, but I've been opening up some Bloomburrow Magic the Gathering packs in preparation, just kind of figuring out how I want to do it for the Magic the Gathering Spider-Man set. But the main times that videos are going to be coming out are Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Like I said, Wednesdays are going to be the top 100 games. Mondays, I'm going to be continuing through Legendary Kingdom, solo RPG system. And then Fridays, my wife and I are playing through Baldur's Gate 3. We're in Act 3 now, or we're in Baldur's Gate now. So join us for all of those. The best way to know when those videos are going to come out is simply subscribe and click that notification bell. And then trying to think what else there is. Check out articles that I write on board games, reviews, things like that over on nerdologists.com. I actually put up a review for a game that didn't make it onto the list because It's a new one that I played after I created this list a week and a half ago or so. So there's always new stuff coming out there. And then if you enjoy Marvel movies, comics, TV shows, things like that, check out my podcast, 10 Minute Marvel. You can find that here on YouTube. Currently, we are doing rankings over there as well for everything for the MCU. And Ryan from Man vs. Meeple is joining us there as well. So, join us for that fun over there. But with that, thank you so much for watching, and bottoms up.